going to be playing a Christmas carol called The Good King Went to Last. Have a jolly Christmas!
How are you? Today, as you can see, I've held my guitar up. I got this guitar because I wanted to show you all of my skills. And this is my favorite instrument, which I thought I might share with my friends. Oh look! I've got more friends. Hi friends, my name is Krishna. Merry Christmas. Today I'm going to also show my skills to you. So let's start. You can guys join in. Let's go. So now friends, talking about Christmas. Christmas to me is about giving, selflessly love and care. Our parents do a lot for us. Their love for us is unconditional. As I'm 9 years old now, I have decided to help my mom with all the chores and to be a good child. Christmas is also about giving priceless presents to everyone, such as the needy, creating positive thoughts and ray of hope. May this Christmas for everyone be filled with joy and happiness. Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed.
Good evening to everyone, and it's a great pleasure to be with you all, especially at this festive time of Christmas leading into the new year. And I know that it's going to be a very different Christmas for all of us. We won't be able to be together in the same way, but I'm hoping that we'll find some means to connect. And I think through this whole period of COVID-19, technology has really played a big part. And luckily, most people have some access to technology. But it's been so important to connect in one way or the other, even though we can't be together physically. And of course, it won't be the same as that human contact with friends and family and eating together. But we have to make the best of it because we know we will come through this. And maybe there'll be changes in our lives that we will value. Maybe it will really lead to something new and something better. That's my hope. And whether we're together physically or not, we can still give. And the theme for today is about giving. Giving is so important, a very important part of our lives. And I think we all know that we are the most happy when we are giving, when we are doing something for others. Just today, I was hearing something on the radio, And of course, there's always reports about things that have happened for people during this COVID time. And this was about how so many people have now learned to cook, whereas before they would have ready meals or go out to a restaurant. They actually, instead of the time of commuting to and from work, are now using that time to cook a fresh meal from fresh ingredients. And there's one person who was being interviewed, and he said he'd never been interested in cooking. And now he's been cooking for himself, experimenting. And then he went back to visit his parents, and he's doing the cooking for them, and he's cooking with his mum. And it's really been a very beautiful experience. So I'm sure there are things of benefit that we can see. Giving helps us in so many ways. And giving, of course, makes us feel good, as we said, and there's been many studies done about this. There was a study at Harvard Business School, and they found that people had more good feelings through spending money on others than spending money on themselves, even though they predicted that that wouldn't be the case. It's interesting, isn't it? Something about the energy of doing something for someone else, their happiness, their gratitude, their blessings that come back to you. Giving is also good for our health. It helps our immune system. And especially studies on long-term illnesses have shown that it's had a very good effect on how people cope with these. You know, somehow giving brings us out of ourselves and our own little world and helps us to step into the world of another and understand their needs. And this is where giving also can bring more connectedness and social cohesion, because when we give, we connect. And perhaps we connect with people who we perhaps wouldn't have thought of connecting with before. And giving is contagious. And I'm sure you've heard of those projects like random acts of kindness or paying it forward, where somebody does a kind act towards somebody and then they have to pay it forward. In other words, they then do a kind act, a random act for somebody that they don't know. And showing kindness is a very beautiful thing. We need more kindness in our world. And I was remembering a story of an actor. And this is a true story. He was recounting his experience of how he was on a film set, wasn't an actor, just working on the set. And he really wanted to be an actor. And so one day he put on one of the costumes and pretended and acted out a scene. And the director saw this, and the director was very angry and actually slapped him. And he just stayed very calm. The director then regretted his actions, and the next day he said to the man, "Okay, I can see that you really want to act. I'm going to give you a part in this film." And the man had a tear. And the director said, "Well, when I slapped you yesterday, you didn't cry. Today I'm offering you something and there's a tear." And he said, "Yes, because what moves me is your kindness. Kindness makes me feel valued as a human being." So there's something about giving. It's not just about giving materially. If we can give materially, yes, to people in need, that's a very beautiful thing. And it's important that we do that. In fact, there's a very good saying, isn't there, that what goes around comes around. So if you give, then you will never be lacking in anything. And I remember traveling with a businessman to our headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris in India. And he was learning about the teachings, about Raj Yoga. And he said that I was also told by my father that if you make money, you have to keep it to make more money. And now I have to learn a different philosophy, that if I give it away, I'll make more money. And he's a great philanthropist until today, not in need of anything, and very, very generous. There's a lot of fear around in today's world, especially because of COVID, but for many other reasons. And I always would feel that the antithesis or the antidote to fear is love. But recently I was with a small group, and one of them was an Indigenous elder from North America. And he spoke about the understanding that they have that the way to overcome fear is through generosity. Because generosity puts you into the shoes of another person, and you forget about your own fears in caring for others, in giving to others. And he described it as if a child has a very dear soft toy, but then sees another child in need and decides to give that soft toy to that other child. That's an act of generosity, a huge act of generosity, but also an act of sacrifice, and it brings inner strength. So when I give, not only are there good feelings and all the things that we mentioned, but I also gain strength within myself and courage to do good. And we need more goodness in our world. Giving is also about sharing, and in our world today there's lots of division, whether it's between families, communities, nations. And so because there's division everywhere, it's very difficult for there to be the sharing of resources. Think about it. There's a very famous saying, I think you'll know from Gandhiji, the saying that there's always enough for everyone's need, but never enough for anyone's greed. And that's a fact. If we were able to overcome the divisions, we would be able to share, and there would be enough, there would be abundance for everyone. But perhaps it's the other way around. Perhaps we need to start sharing and caring. And then we realize that we all have the same needs. We all are one human family. And so maybe those divisions aren't meaningful anymore. How we give is very important. And again, another story, and I learned this lesson. It was at the time of the Bhuj earthquake in India, quite a few years ago now. And we have a hospital in Mount Abu at our headquarters, and it's quite close to Gujarat and then to that Bhuj area. And so we had a group of our brothers and sisters go out to give food and aid, cooking utensils, and so on. And I was there when they came back, and one of them shared their experience, and she said, you know, we were serving people who the day before had everything, and the next day nothing, and had to take a plate of food. It was very difficult. And they said to us that when you people come to give to us, we don't feel as if we lose our dignity. I thought that's very interesting. I thought about it, and I thought, well, if you're just giving out of pity, then that's not very dignified. The person feels they're low and they're like a beggar, and you're saying, poor thing, I'm giving to you. a kind of arrogance there, isn't there? But if I'm giving to my family, say my brother or my sister needs something, would I feel it's a handout? Would I do it out of pity? No, I would share because they're part of my family. And I realized that the group had gone there not to give alms, but to actually share with other members of their human family. And so it didn't take away the dignity of those who were receiving. And I thought, this is so important. So what we give, giving, and of course, when we do give something of our earnings, every faith teaches us this, there's more strength in what we earn. Of course, we have to be sensible and look after our needs and our family, but something in the name of God is so important. But we can't always give in a material way, and actually, sometimes what is needed is something very different that is not material. It is to give of ourselves, to show those acts of kindness, maybe to give a smile, to give sympathy, empathy, to walk along with someone and to show understanding, to listen. That's a great act of giving, actually. And I remember being with someone who was very ill, and she died of cancer. She was just about 40 years old. And I remember asking God, what is the best thing I can do for her? And the answer I got was to stay happy. I thought, oh, God, you're asking something difficult of me. Of course, it's not to stay happy that she's sick, of course not, but the lesson was that she needed that atmosphere of happiness, of love, of upliftment around her. And so I really decided, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And I know that it helped towards making that phase of her life, that passage, easier. It was important to give something intangible. And so, as I'm giving, I need that understanding of what it is somebody needs. And I have to be able to give that from within myself. Because, of course, if I'm going to give, I need to have something to give. Sometimes we feel a little bit down and we say, well, I've got nothing to give, or I'm no good, or I'm not as good as other people. We have all those negative thoughts, weak thoughts at times. I've found that as I've studied meditation more and more, studied Raj Yoga, I've learned to look inside myself. And as I've looked inside, I've begun to understand the gifts that I do have within. And of course, when you look inside, it's about stepping away from what you do. You know, we all identify with what we do. It's more about how I am as a person, who I really am, and what is really meaningful for me. And as I did that, I began to understand that I have a lot of goodness inside, and I want to use it. I want to bring it out. I do have that capacity to love. I do have that ability to stay calm, even in very challenging situations. I do have some wisdom with which to take decisions. And we are taking decisions all the time, aren't we? It's all about being before doing, rather than being as a result of doing. I always say it's like living from the inside out rather than from the outside in. We all have many influences upon us, and those influences could somehow drown out our goodness. But I have to let that goodness emerge and believe in it. Just as I know others have given me the gift of believing in me. And in fact, at this point, I'm remembering somebody who gave me many, many gifts. She passed on at the age of 104 in this March just gone. Daddy Janki, many of you know her, would have heard of her. And she was always giving. And she would want to give you physical gifts, want to make sure you'd eaten enough, want to give you food, sweets. But it wasn't really about that. In that she gave her love, in that she gave her blessings, and in that she transmitted her belief in you as a person. And I know when I didn't believe in myself, she believed in me and made me understand that I can achieve what it is that I wish to achieve. I can progress in my life. So we have these gifts to share, but where do they come from? These gifts come from God. They came from God when God created us. The peace, love, compassion, wisdom, empathy. These are all gifts that God has given us. And it's so important that I remember those gifts and use them. And so, if we think that life is like a boat, or the human being is like a boat in life. And I always say that it's important that the boat is in the water, but the water shouldn't come in the boat. So again, I'm there with my gifts, going through life and sharing. So the boat is in the water. If I allow the water to come in the boat, then all those influences, people's anger, people's fear, people's negativity, maybe they're insulting me, whatever it is, they will drown my goodness. And I don't want that. I want to give more to life. And I've also understood when somebody's negative towards me or anybody else, it's because they have some negativity and pain inside. So why am I condemning them? Don't I want to uplift them? And I remember a story, somebody called me and said, somebody I know has done something very bad to one of my friends, and I know that we're taught in Raj Yoga to have good wishes, but I want to go and throttle them. What should I do? I said, no, don't go and throttle them. I just thought for a moment, and I said, okay, for that person who's done wrong, what do you feel would be the best outcome for them? And this other person thought for a moment, and then he said, well, I suppose I would want them to realize what they've done, to reform, maybe to apologize and make amends. I said, that's good wishes. That's enough. Just wanting a better outcome. That's emerging your goodness. And so to emerge that inner goodness and to keep it alive, we need to use it. And as we use those gifts, they grow, they multiply. That's the law of nature. It's a spiritual law. And so then I'll begin to feel, yes, I have something, rather than I lack something. I can only give from a consciousness of abundance, actually. And of course, if I connect with the divine, if I connect with God, God has an abundance of everything, everything that is good. An abundance of love, of peace, of wisdom, of compassion, of mercy, everything that we feel is good in life and that really the world needs now. And so if I connect with God, I have all that abundance available to me. And so as I take that into myself, it awakens the goodness in me. It awakens those gifts in me. And so with that abundance available to me, I can't say that I don't have anything to give. I have to give. In fact, it happens very naturally. It overflows from me. I give. But I also know that it's because of what God has given me that I'm able to give. And so as I continue to do this, the happiness, the goodness increases in me. And I spread that atmosphere around me. And so at this festive time, let us really aim to do that, because this is the uplifting atmosphere that the world needs at this moment. It seems like we're going further into the darkness of what's happening around us. But always, after the darkness, there's light. There will be a new beginning. There is a new horizon. I really, really believe that. And the human spirit is very resilient. And the human spirit will conquer. Conquer not in an aggressive way, but the goodness in the human spirit will overcome negativity and will find solutions rather than only be weighed down by the problems. So let this Christmas be a Christmas of giving, a Christmas of solutions, a Christmas of experiencing God's gifts, a Christmas of joy. And remember that that atmosphere can reach across a Zoom, can reach across time and distance, and so we can be connected. But I'd like us now just to spend a few moments reflecting on some of these things so that we can experience those gifts and share them. So I remember the gifts that I have. The gifts of the inner being. I can do a lot. I can give a lot. But when I remember my gifts within, I can give of myself. I remember who has given me those gifts. They've come from God. God has given me and continues to give an abundance of peace, of love, of understanding, of kindness, of compassion. And as I take those gifts from God, I know that they are not just for myself, but these are gifts that I will naturally share in my day-to-day life. At every moment, I can give. At every moment, I can share. And as I do that, I will create a wave of goodness around me and among all whom I interact with. Let us share our goodness this season, this Christmas, and into the coming year. Thank you so much. Lovely to be with you. And again, I wish you a very happy Christmas, a good new year filled with happiness, filled with health, filled with good relationships, filled with newness. Thank you, and Om Shanti, I am peace.